The Vraxians responded with laughter. Their reply came 12 hours after Earth's warning. It was broadcast across every human channel, meant to break their spirit. Your defiance amuses us. We have destroyed civilizations older and stronger than yours. Your warning is meaningless. We advance. Prepare to die. Captain Bora Lee stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the enemy fleet approach on her screens. 800 massive warships moved toward Earth like a dark tide. Each one bristled with weapons. Each one carried enough firepower to level a city. Her own fleet numbered only 50 ships, small vessels fast and maneuverable, not built for head-on combat, built for what humans did best, adapt and survive. All ships, this is Lee. She spoke into her communicator. Remember the plan. We hit them and run. We make them chase us. We make them waste ammunition and fuel. We make them angry. Confirmations came from her captains. Good people, brave people. Some were barely older than she was. They all knew this might be a suicide mission. None of them cared. This was their home, their planet, their species. Weapons ready, her tactical officer reported. Targets locked. Fire, Bora said calmly. Missiles streaked through space toward the Vraxian vanguard. The aliens' shields absorbed most of the damage, but 2 ships took hits. Minor damage. Nothing critical, but enough to get their attention. The Vraxians turned toward them, weapons charging. Bora smiled. All ships full reverse thrust. Get behind Mars, move. The human fleet scattered. They dove behind the red planet, just as Vraxian weapons fire tore through the space where they had been. The aliens gave chase, angry at the small creatures who dared to sting them. Perfect. While the Vraxians pursued Bora's fleet, something else was happening in the asteroid belt. Engineer Subin Kang floated in her worksuit among the mining stations, surrounded by her crew. They were doing what humans had done for thousands of years, turning tools into weapons. This one's ready, her assistant called out, pointing to a mining drone. It looked the same as before, but Subin had made modifications. She had attached military-grade explosives to its core and programmed it with new instructions. Hunt. Attach. Disable. How many do we have? Subin asked. 200 and counting. Every mining station in the belt is converting their equipment. We'll have thousands by tomorrow. Subin nodded. She called them Havoc mines. Small drones that looked like space debris. The Vraxians wouldn't notice them until it was too late. They would drift toward enemy ships attached to their hulls and release electromagnetic pulses that fried electronics. Non-lethal mostly, but devastating to ship systems. Deploy them along the Vraxian approach route, she ordered. Make it look natural, like they're just debris from old mining operations. Her team got to work. This was human ingenuity at its finest. When you couldn't match your enemy's strength, you matched their arrogance with cunning. On Titan, Dr. Hana Choi had barely slept. She stood in the ancient ruins, her team working around her. They had excavated deeper into the structure, finding chambers and corridors that led far underground. The architecture was beautiful and alien. Whoever built this understood mathematics and physics in ways humanity was only beginning to grasp. Doctor, you need to see this. Specialist Minho Bayek called from below. He was the team's language expert, a quiet man who had spent years studying alien cultures. Hana climbed down to where he stood. He had cleared away ice from a wall panel. More symbols covered it, glowing faintly with their own light. I can read some of it now, Minho said excitedly. It's a test. Just like you thought. But not a test of strength. A test of character. What does it say? Minho traced the symbols with his gloved hand. Species that become powerful without wisdom destroy themselves and others. Those who face extinction yet refuse to become monsters may inherit what we leave behind. He looked at Hana. They're testing if we're worthy. And if we fail the test, then the weapons stay locked, and we die. Minho's voice was grim. Hana felt a chill that had nothing to do with Titan's frozen surface. Everything depended on this. Not just finding the weapons, but proving humanity deserved them. Back in Earth's orbit, Lieutenant Jae-Sung Han piloted his experimental fighter through the darkness. The Ghost was humanity's newest creation, a ship so stealthy that even advanced sensors couldn't detect it. He had volunteered for this mission knowing he might not return. His objective was simple: get close to the Vraxian fleet. Very close. Close enough to scan their ships and learn their weaknesses. Close enough to see inside their command structure. The Vraxian flagship loomed ahead of him. It was massive, 10 times the size of anything humans had built. Weapons covered its surface like thorns on a rose. Jae-sung kept his breathing steady as he maneuvered closer. One mistake and they would see him. One error and he was dead. His sensors recorded everything. Ship layouts, weapon placements, communication frequencies, shield harmonics. Every piece of data was a weapon. Every observation was a chance for Earth to survive. Then he saw something interesting. The flagship's shields had a gap. A tiny vulnerability where different shield sections met. It lasted only microseconds, but it was there. Jae-sung marked the location and backed away slowly, careful not to alert anyone. Commander Dae-jung Kim watched all of this unfold from his command center. Reports flooded in from every front. Bora's hit-and-run attacks were working. The Vraxians had sent 200 ships to chase her, splitting their forces. Subin's havoc mines were in position. Jae-sung had found a weakness in the enemy flagship. Small victories, but victories nonetheless. The Vraxians are getting frustrated, General Yoon observed. He studied the tactical displays with a professional eye. They're not used to enemies who don't fight fair. There's no such thing as fighting fair, Dae-jung replied. There's only winning and losing, surviving and dying. Ambassador Ji-woo Park entered the command center carrying more data. The collective is watching, she reported. They've positioned observation ships at the edge of the solar system. They're recording everything. Good, Dae-jung said. Let them watch. Let them see what humans are capable of when pushed to the edge. They sent a message, Ji-woo continued. It was encrypted, but we decoded it. She hesitated. It said, "You remind us of ourselves long ago. Before we learned to fear." The words hung in the air. The collective had seemed so advanced, so peaceful, so wise. But maybe they had once been like humanity. Desperate, angry, fighting for survival. And maybe they had lost something along the way. Something that humans still had. The fire. The will to fight. The refusal to surrender. Status of the havoc mines. Dae-jung asked, changing the subject. In position, the Vraxian fleet will pass through the field in 6 hours. And Captain Lee? Still leading them on a chase. She's lost 3 ships but disabled 8 of theirs. The Vraxians are getting sloppy. They're angry. Perfect. Angry enemies made mistakes. And mistakes could be exploited. On the Vraxian flagship, High Commander Krath watched his screens with growing irritation. These humans were insects. Weak creatures who should have been crushed in the first engagement. Yet they kept fighting. Kept running. Kept stinging his forces like pests. Why do they resist? His subordinate asked. They must know they cannot win. Because they are fools, Krath growled. But fools die like anyone else. Send the main fleet forward. Enough of these games. We will crush their homeworld and be done with them. The Vraxian armada moved deeper into human territory, eager for a final battle. They didn't notice the small objects floating in the asteroid field. Didn't see the thousands of modified mining drones that looked like harmless debris. They would notice soon enough. Corporal Youngmi Shin checked her equipment one last time. She led a team of 20 Marines, all volunteers for the most dangerous mission yet. They were going to board a Vraxian ship, get inside, learn everything they could, and maybe, if they were lucky, sabotage something important. Everyone ready? She asked her team. They nodded. Their faces were hidden behind helmets, but she could feel their determination. These were the best soldiers humanity had, and they were about to do something impossible. Their transport ship approached a damaged Vraxian vessel that was drifting after one of Bora's attacks. It looked abandoned. Probably was, but maybe it still had useful information in its computers. Breach in 30 seconds, the pilot announced. Young Mai took a deep breath. This was what she had trained for her entire life. She thought about Earth below, about her family and soul, about all the people depending on soldiers like her to buy them time. For Earth, she said quietly. For Earth, her team echoed. The breach charges fired. Metal screamed as the hull was torn open. Young Mi and her Marines poured into the alien ship, weapons ready, knowing that every second counted. Every piece of information they gathered was a weapon. Every weakness they discovered was hope, and humanity needed all the hope it could get. Make every shot count. Protect the scientist, and if they get through us, make them pay for every met. The ancient platform emerged from Saturn's rings like a predator rising from the depths. It was massive beyond comprehension, its surface covered with technology that had no equal in the modern galaxy. As it positioned itself between Titan and the approaching Vraxian fleet, Space itself seemed to bend around it. On the bridge of his flagship, High Commander Krath stared at his screens in disbelief. His sensors were showing readings that made no sense. The power signature from that station could destroy his entire fleet. "What is that thing?" his weapons officer asked nervously. "I don't know. But it doesn't matter. There's only one of them and 200 of us. Maintain course. Prepare weapons." His subordinate looked uncertain but obeyed. The Vraxian fleet continued toward Titan, weapons charging, ready to destroy whatever this human trick was. Then Commander Dae-Jung Kim's voice echoed across every communication channel. It was broadcast to the Vraxians, to Earth, to the collective observation ships, to everyone watching this moment. "Vraxian fleet, this is your final warning. You are looking at weapons built by a civilization that conquered this galaxy 3 million years ago. They left these defenses for species worthy of using them. We have been judged worthy. You have been judged a threat." Krath laughed bitterly. "Empty threats from a dying species. All ships, attack formation. Show these humans what real power looks like." Dae-Jung's voice remained calm. "You were warned. We take no pleasure in what comes next, but you leave us no choice." The platform fired. It wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. No missiles. No energy beams. Instead, space itself twisted. A gravitational wave rolled through the Vraxian formation like an ocean current through a school of fish. Ships were pushed aside, spun around, their carefully planned attack formation scattered in seconds. Not a single ship was destroyed. Not a single Vraxian was killed. But the fleet was in chaos, ships struggling to regain control, systems straining against forces they didn't understand. "Warning shot," Dae-Jung announced. "The next one won't be so gentle. Turn your fleet around. Leave our solar system. You have 1 hour to comply." Krath's bridge had been thrown into confusion. Officers shouted reports. Damage control teams scrambled to restore systems. His mighty flagship had been tossed aside like a toy. The humiliation burned worse than any weapon. "Contact Earth," he growled. "Open a direct channel. I want to speak to whoever commands them." Moments later, Dae-Jung's face appeared on the Vraxian screens. Krath saw a human for the first time. Smaller than Vraxians. Weaker looking. But the eyes that stared back at him held no fear. Only determination. "You dare challenge the Vraxian Empire?" Krath demanded. "Do you know what we have done to species that opposed us? We have burned worlds. Enslaved populations. Erased entire civilizations from existence. I know exactly what you are." Dae-Jung replied quietly. "Bullies, conquerors, species that mistake cruelty for strength. You came to Earth expecting us to run or surrender. Instead, you found something you didn't expect, resistance. We outnumber you. Even with your ancient weapons, we can overwhelm you through sheer numbers. Perhaps. But here's what you need to understand about humans, Commander Krath. We've been the underdogs our entire history. We've faced ice ages, plagues, predators, and our own worst instincts. Every time someone or something tried to destroy us, we survived. Not through superior strength, but through adaptation, through refusal to give up, through fighting smart instead of fighting fair." Dae-Jung leaned forward. "Those platforms can reduce your entire armada to dust. But we won't do that. Do you know why? Because we're not like you. We don't kill just because we can. We're giving you a choice you never gave any of your victims. Leave with your lives, or stay and test whether your numbers mean anything against weapons that conquered galaxies." Krath's claws dug into his command chair. The human was right. He had sent invasion fleets against 200 worlds. Not once had he offered mercy. Not once had he let an enemy retreat. And now this young species was showing him compassion he had never shown anyone else. It made him angrier than any weapon could. "You think mercy makes you strong?" he snarled. "It makes you weak. It makes you vulnerable. The galaxy belongs to the ruthless, not the compassionate." "Then explain why you're scattered and powerless while we stand ready to destroy you," Dae-Jung said. "Explain why an ancient civilization chose us over you. Explain why the collective watches us with respect while they watch you with contempt." Krath had no answer. The truth was bitter. Humanity had achieved in days what the Vraxian Empire had failed to do in centuries. They had earned respect. They had proven worthy. They had shown that strength and mercy could exist together. "All ships resume attack," Krath ordered. "We will not be lectured by inferior creatures. Destroy that platform. Destroy Titan. Destroy everything." Dae-Jung's expression didn't change. "Then you've made your choice. Captain Lee, you're clear to engage. Dr. Choi, activate platform weapons. Full defensive protocols. Bora's fleet emerged from behind Titan. 50 ships against 200. But they weren't alone. The Saturn platform's weapons came online, and suddenly the odds didn't matter anymore. The platform fired again. This time, massive pulses of electromagnetic energy rolled through the Vraxian formation. Ship after ship went dark. Engines failed. Weapons systems shut down. Life support remained active, but everything else simply stopped working. The ancient weapons were surgical in their precision. They disabled without killing. They stopped threats without creating martyrs. In minutes, 200 warships became 200 lifeboats, drifting helplessly through space. Only Krath's flagship remained operational, protected by stronger shields. The High Commander watched in horror as his entire battle group was neutralized without a single shot fired in return. Now, Daejong's voice returned. We're going to do something you would never do. We're going to show you mercy. Again, human ships moved forward, but they didn't fire weapons. Instead, they attached towing cables to the disabled Vraxian vessels. One by one, Bora's fleet began pulling the enemy ships toward the edge of the solar system. What are you doing? Krath demanded. Taking you home, Daejong said simply. Or at least taking you far enough from Earth that you can repair your ships and leave. We're not monsters, Commander Krath. We're not conquerors. We're survivors. And survivors understand that today's enemy might be tomorrow's ally. Or at least tomorrow's neutral party. You're fools, Krath spat. We'll return. We'll bring more ships. You'll think very carefully before threatening Earth again, General Yoon interrupted. His scarred face appeared on the screen next to Daejong. Because we have your ship's data. We know about your invasion plans. We know your next targets. 3 collective worlds that have done nothing to you. Species that can't defend themselves. Krath's expression changed. Fear flickered across his features for the first time. We're going to share that data, Daejong continued. With everyone. The collective. Your potential victims. Every species in the galaxy. They'll know what you planned. They'll know you were stopped. And they'll know why you were stopped. Not by superior firepower, but by a young species that valued mercy over vengeance. You're trying to humiliate us, Krath realized. No. We're trying to change you. Or failing that, we're making sure everyone knows what you are. Bullies prey on the weak and isolated. But when everyone is watching, when everyone is ready, bullies lose their power. The communication ended. Krath sat in his command chair, watching human ships tow his fleet away like salvage, the greatest military force in his empire, defeated without a single casualty on either side. Humiliated not through destruction but through mercy. Across the galaxy, the collective watched. Their observation ships recorded everything. In their great assembly halls, representatives from 47 species debated what they had witnessed. Ambassador Jiwoo Park stood before them. She had been invited to speak, the first human to address the full collective assembly. Honored representatives, she began, her voice carrying through the vast chamber. 3 days ago you told us you could not help. You cited treaties and laws. You offered sympathy but no support. You left us to face extinction alone. The assembled aliens shifted uncomfortably. Some looked ashamed, others defensive. We don't say this to condemn you, Jiwoo continued. We understand. You have your own laws, your own histories, your own reasons for caution. But we need you to understand something about humanity. When you abandon us, we don't give up. When you leave us to die, we find a way to survive. And when we do survive, we don't seek revenge. We seek understanding. She activated a holographic display showing the Vraxian invasion plans. These are the worlds they plan to attack next. Your worlds, your allies, your friends. Humanity just saved you, even though you wouldn't save us. The chamber erupted in noise. Species shouted questions. Representatives demanded explanations. The revelation that the Vraxians had been planning attacks on collective worlds changed everything. We're not telling you this to make you feel guilty, Jiwoo said when the noise subsided. We're telling you this because the galaxy is changing. New threats will emerge. New challenges will arise. And when they do, we need to face them together. Not because laws. Dr. Hana Choi stood before a massive door deep beneath Titan's frozen surface. It had taken her team 48 hours of continuous work to reach this point. Now they faced something that had been sealed for millions of years. The door was covered in symbols that glowed with a soft blue light. Minho stood beside her, translating as fast as he could read. It's a warning, he said quietly. "It says beyond this door lies power to destroy or save. Those who enter must prove their worth. Those who fail will perish. Those who succeed inherit our legacy." Hana touched the door. The metal was cold even through her glove. "How do we prove ourselves?" "I don't know, but I think we're about to find out." Minho pressed his hand against a circular panel on the door. Nothing happened for a moment. Then the door began to open, ancient mechanisms grinding to life after eons of silence. Beyond was a chamber unlike anything they had seen before. The walls pulsed with light. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing images and data that shifted too fast to follow. And in the center of the room stood a pillar of crystalline material that hummed with energy. "What is this place?" one of the researchers whispered. Before Hana could answer, a voice filled the chamber. It spoke in a language she shouldn't understand, yet somehow did. The words appeared directly in her mind, clear and cold. "Welcome, youngest children. I am the Arbiter. I have waited long for someone to find this place." The research team froze. Hana stepped forward, her heart pounding. "You're an artificial intelligence? I am what remains of those who came before. My creators built me to guard their final gift, to test those who would claim it. You seek weapons, yes? Power to fight your enemies?" "Yes," Hana said honestly. "We're facing extinction. A species called the Vraxians wants to destroy us. We need help." The Arbiter was silent for a moment. Then the holographic displays changed, showing images from Earth's history. Wars, genocides, destruction. The worst moments of humanity played out before them. "Your species has a history of violence," the Arbiter observed. "You have killed your own kind by the millions. You have poisoned your world. You have destroyed countless other species on your planet. Why should you survive when so many better species have perished?" Hana felt her team's eyes on her. This was the test. This was the moment that would decide everything. She took a deep breath and spoke from her heart. "You're right. We've made terrible mistakes. We've done horrible things. But we learned, we grew, we changed." She pointed at the images. "Those wars taught us the value of peace. That genocide showed us the importance of protecting life. The environmental damage made us understand our responsibility to our planet." The Arbiter showed more images. These were different. Humans helping each other, building hospitals, saving endangered species, reaching out to alien civilizations with peace instead of weapons. "We're not perfect," Hana continued. "We never will be, but we try. We keep trying. Every generation tries to be better than the last. We learn from our mistakes instead of repeating them. That's what makes us worthy. Not our perfection, but our capacity for growth." The chamber fell silent. The holographic displays dimmed. Then the Arbiter spoke again, and this time there was something different in its voice. Almost like sadness. "My creators were not like you. They were powerful, advanced, but they never learned. They never changed. They believed their strength made them superior. They conquered hundreds of worlds, enslaved thousands of species. And when other civilizations united against them, they chose destruction over surrender." The Arbiter showed them images of a great war. Ships beyond counting filled with dark space, planets burned, entire solar systems torn apart by weapons too terrible to imagine. In their final days, a few of my creators realized their mistake. They understood that power without wisdom leads only to destruction. They built this facility as a warning and a gift. A warning of what happens to species that become too powerful, a gift for species that might learn from their failure. Minho stepped forward. "What happened to them?" "They died. All of them. The galaxy united and erased them from existence. I am all that remains, a ghost guarding a tomb, waiting for species worthy of inheriting what was lost." Hana felt tears in her eyes. "And you think we're worthy? You face extinction but do not seek revenge. You fight for survival, not conquest. You show mercy to your enemies even when they show you none. You have suffered and learned. You have failed and grown stronger." The Arbiter's voice became almost gentle. "Yes, young species. You are worthy." The crystalline pillar in the center of the room began to glow brighter. The humming grew louder. Data streamed across the holographic displays faster and faster. "I grant you access to the defense platforms. 3 weapon stations hidden in your solar system. They have remained dormant for 3 million years. Now they wake." Hana's communicator erupted with urgent messages. "Dr. Choi, we're detecting massive energy signatures in the outer system. Something's activating near Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune. On Earth, Commander Dae-jung Kim watched his screens in amazement. 3 enormous structures were emerging from hiding. One rose from Jupiter's clouds, massive and angular. Another unfolded from Saturn's rings like a flower blooming. The third appeared near Neptune, materializing from what had seemed like empty space. Each platform was the size of a small moon. Each one radiated power that made Earth's most advanced technology look like Stone Age tools. What are those? General Yoon breathed. Our salvation, Dae-jung replied. He opened a channel to Titan. Dr. Choi, I don't know what you did, but whatever it was, it worked. Back on Titan, Hana was receiving instructions from the Arbiter. Technical data flooded her tablet faster than she could process it. How to control the platforms, how to aim them, how to choose between lethal and non-lethal force. A final warning, the Arbiter said. These weapons can destroy entire fleets. They can crack planets. They give you the power my creators once possessed. Use them wisely. Use them with mercy. Become what they could not. We will, Hana promised. Thank you. Do not thank me. Prove yourselves worthy of this gift. Show the galaxy that power and wisdom can exist together. Show them what my creators should have been. The Arbiter's presence faded. The holographic displays dimmed. But the platforms remained, waiting for human command. Hana transmitted all the data back to Earth, then looked at her team. They were smiling. Some were crying with relief. They had found hope in the darkest moment, but outside another crisis was developing. Commander Woo Jin Nam, who led Titan's defenses, burst into the chamber. His face was pale. Doctor, we have a problem. The Vraxians detected the energy surge. They're coming here. A full battle group. 200 ships heading straight for Titan. Hana's moment of relief vanished. Of course the Vraxians would come. The platforms activating must have looked like a massive threat. They would want to destroy the source before it could be used against them. How long do we have? She asked. 4 hours. Maybe less. Can we evacuate? Woo Jin shook his head. Not everyone. We don't have enough transport ships. And even if we did, they'd shoot us down before we escaped Titan's orbit. Hana looked at her team. At the young scientists who had worked so hard. At Minho, who had helped her decode the ancient language. At the guards who protected them. Good people. All of them. She opened her communicator. Commander Kim, this is Dr. Choi. We have a situation. Dae-jung listened to her report. His expression didn't change, but she could hear the tension in his voice. Hold your position, Doctor. We're sending help. Commander, there are 200 Vraxian ships coming. You don't have enough? We don't need many ships, Doctor. Not anymore. You just gave us the most powerful weapons in the solar system. Now we're going to use them. Back in Earth's command center, Dae-jung was already issuing orders. Captain Lee, take your fleet to Titan. You're going to buy Dr. Choi time. On my way, Commander. Bora's voice was steady. She had been fighting the Vraxians for 2 days straight. Her ships were damaged, her crews exhausted, but she didn't hesitate. Corporal Shin, your Marines on Titan. Already setting up defensive positions, sir. If they want to get to the scientists, they'll have to go through us. Dae-jung looked at the tactical displays. Bora's fleet would arrive at Titan before the Vraxians, but barely. She would have to hold them off with 50 damaged ships against 200 fresh ones. It was suicide unless they had help. Activate the Saturn platform, he ordered. Position it between Titan and the incoming Vraxian fleet. On Saturn's rings, the ancient weapon began to move. It had waited 3 million years for this moment. Now it would show the Vraxians why the old empire had been feared across the galaxy. On Titan, Hana watched the Vraxian ships approach on her screens. They looked so small from here. Just dots of light in the darkness. But each dot was a warship full of soldiers who wanted her dead. Minho stood beside her. We did good work here, Doctor. Whatever happens next, we gave humanity a chance. We did, she agreed. Now let's hope it's enough. Above them, hidden in the icy moon's thin atmosphere, Corporal Young Mi Shin checked her rifle one more time. Her Marines were positioned in defensive formations around the research station. They had limited ammunition, limited supplies, but unlimited determination. Remember your training, she told her team over the comm. The warning came without mercy. It arrived on every screen, every radio frequency, every communication device that humanity possessed. The message was simple and cold. Commander Dae-jung Kim stood in the command center of Earth's defense headquarters, watching the alien transmission repeat itself. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his hands gripped the edge of the console. Around him, officers whispered anxiously. Some looked terrified. Others looked angry. The voice in the transmission was mechanical, translated by their computers. It belonged to the Vraxians, a species nobody on Earth had ever heard of until 3 hours ago. They spoke like humanity was nothing more than insects in their way. You have 72 hours. Leave Earth, leave all your colonies. Abandon this solar system. If you remain, you will die. We have conquered 200 worlds. You will not be the exception, that was it. No negotiation offered. No explanation given. Just a countdown to death. Captain Bo-Ra Lee burst into the room, her uniform still dusty from the training exercise she had been leading. Her young face was flushed with anger. She saluted quickly and spoke before Daejung could say anything. Commander, my fleet is ready. Say the word and we'll show these aliens what humanity thinks of threats. Daejung looked at her. Bo-Ra was brave, perhaps too brave. She commanded the battleship Indomitable and 50 smaller vessels. Good ships. Good crews. But the reports coming from the edge of the solar system told a different story. The Vraxian fleet numbered over 800 warships. Each one was larger than anything humanity had built. We're outmatched, General Taehyun-yoon said from across the room. The old soldier's voice was rough. He had fought in the Mars Rebellion 12 years ago, back when humans only fought each other. Now he faced something worse. 50-1 odds, maybe worse. Then we evacuate, someone suggested. We have colony ships. We can evacuate 12 billion people in 72 hours. Daejung's voice cut through the room like a knife. Impossible. Even if we had the ships, where would we go? They're not offering us a new home. They're offering us death just slower. The room fell silent. Everyone knew he was right. Ambassador Ji-woo Park entered through the side door. She looked exhausted. Her formal diplomatic robes were wrinkled. She had been in communication with the collective for hours, trying to get help from the alien alliance that Earth had joined just 5 years ago. The collective was supposed to be humanity's friend, supposed to be their protector. They won't help us, Ji-woo said quietly. The collective has treaties with the Vraxians. Ancient treaties. They say they cannot interfere. Cannot or will not. General Yoon snapped. Does it matter? Ji-woo looked at them all with sad eyes. They offered us ships, transport vessels to help evacuate, but no weapons, no military support. They said they're sorry. Bo-Ra slammed her fist on the table. Sorry? They're sorry? We joined their alliance. We shared our technology. We opened our borders. And now they abandon us? Before anyone could answer, a new voice spoke from the doorway. Maybe they're not the ones we should be asking for help. Everyone turned. Dr. Hana Choi stood there holding a data tablet. The scientist looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her dark hair was pulled back messily, and her lab coat had coffee stains on it, but her eyes were bright with something. Hope, maybe, or madness. Explain, Daejung said. Hana walked to the center console and connected her tablet. A holographic image appeared above them. It showed ruins on Titan, Saturn's largest moon. Ancient structures buried in the ice. I've been studying these for 3 years, Hana said. They're old. Millions of years old. They belong to a civilization that existed before the collective. Before any current species reached space. And? General Yoon asked impatiently. What does ancient history matter now? Because I decoded part of their language last week. Hana's fingers danced across her tablet, bringing up more images. Symbols. Strange writing. They wrote about something they called the Great Filter. A test that all species must face. A test of whether they deserve to survive. The room was silent. Everyone stared at the ancient text. There's more, Hana continued. The text mentions weapons. Defense systems. They built something on Titan. Something designed to help species facing extinction, but only if they pass the test. What kind of test? Daejung asked. I don't know yet, but I think we're about to find out. Hana looked around the room. The Vraxians are the test. How we respond will determine if we're worthy. Ambassador Ji-woo stepped forward. This is speculation. We can't bet humanity's survival on ancient ruins and incomplete translations. You have a better plan? Hana challenged. Because right now our options are run or die. I'm offering a third choice. Daejung studied the holographic images for a long moment. Then he looked at his officers. At Bo-Ra's young, eager face. At General Yoon's scarred and bitter one. At Ji-woo's diplomatic mask that couldn't quite hide her fear. At Hana's desperate hope. He thought about Earth below them. about the cities full of people going about their lives, not yet knowing that death was coming for them. He thought about the colonies on Mars, on Europa, on the asteroid belt. Millions of humans who trusted him to protect them, and he thought about what it meant to be human. Humans had always been fighters, survivors. They had climbed out of caves and reached for the stars. They had faced ice ages and plagues and wars. They had never given up. Not once in their entire history. He wouldn't be the first to start. Draft our response, Dae-jung said firmly. Send it on all frequencies. Make sure the Vraxians hear it. Make sure the collective hears it. Make sure everyone hears it. What should it say? An officer asked. Dae-jung's voice was steel. Tell them we don't abandon our home. Tell them humanity doesn't run. Tell them this is their final warning, not ours. He paused, letting the words sink in. Leave now or perish, the room erupted. Some officers cheered. Others looked horrified. General Yoon smiled for the first time in hours. Bora's hand went to her sidearm in a gesture of readiness. Jiwoo closed her eyes, perhaps praying. Only Hana remained still, staring at her tablet. I'll go to Titan, she said quietly. If there are weapons there, I'll find them. Take whoever you need, Dae-jung told her. You have unlimited resources and unlimited authority. Find those weapons, Doctor. Find them fast. Hana nodded and left quickly, already calling her research team. Dae-jung turned to Bora. Prepare your fleet. Hit-and-run tactics only. I want you to annoy them, slow them down, but don't engage directly. Not yet. We need time. Understood, Commander. Bora saluted sharply and practically ran from the room, eager to fight. General Yoon approached Dae-jung when the others had gone. You know this is suicide, the old soldier said quietly. Even if the doctor finds something on Titan, even if we survive the first battle, the Vraxians will send more ships. They always do. I know, Dae-jung admitted. But I'd rather die fighting than live running. Wouldn't you? Yoon's scarred face broke into a grim smile. I lost my family to aliens once before. Peaceful ones, supposedly. An accident, they said. I've wanted revenge ever since. He put a hand on Dae-jung's shoulder. Maybe now I'll get it. As the general walked away, Dae-jung returned to the window. He could see Earth below, blue and beautiful and fragile. Somewhere down there, the message was being sent. Somewhere out in space, the Vraxians were receiving it. He wondered what they would think of humanity's reply. Would they laugh? Would they be angry? Would they respect it? It didn't matter. The die was cast. Humanity had made its choice. They would not run. They would not surrender. They would fight even against impossible odds. That was what humans did. That was what they had always done, and maybe, just maybe, they would win. 3 weeks had passed since humanity defeated the Vraxian fleet at Titan. Earth celebrated its survival. Monuments were built. Heroes were honored. Life slowly returned to normal. But in the halls of power, everyone knew the storm was not over. It was only beginning. Commander Krath had returned to the Vraxian Empire with his disabled fleet and a story of humiliating defeat. The Empire's response was predictable. They were gathering their full military might. 2,000 warships, the largest invasion force ever assembled, but this time, they weren't coming for Earth. They were redirecting toward 3 collective worlds, exactly as the stolen data had predicted. Worlds that had no defenses, worlds that trusted the collective's ancient treaties to protect them. In Earth's command center, President Hyeon-soo Lim addressed her council. She was a civilian leader, elected to guide humanity through peace, not war. But war had found them anyway. The collective has requested our help, she said. They're asking us to deploy the ancient platforms to defend worlds that aren't our own. Worlds belonging to species that refused to help us 3 weeks ago. General Yoon spoke first. We owe them nothing. They left us to die. Let them face the consequences of their cowardice. That's exactly what the Vraxians would say. Dr. Hana Choi replied quietly. Is that who we want to be? We want to be survivors, Yoon shot back. Every time we risk ourselves for others, we gamble with humanity's future. What if the Vraxians destroy our platforms? What if this is a trap? Commander Dae-jung Kim had been silent, listening to the debate. Now he spoke. The Arbiter gave us those platforms for a reason. Not just to defend Earth, but to prove we understood the lesson. That power without compassion is tyranny. That strength without mercy is weakness, but the risk, Yoon began, is worth taking. President Lim interrupted. She stood, facing her council with the weight of her decision clear in her eyes. We don't help them because they deserve it. We help them because that's who we are. Because if we become the kind of species that abandons others out of fear or spite, then the Vraxians have already won. Ambassador Jiwoo Park nodded. The collective is already mobilizing their own forces. For the first time in their history, they're preparing for war, but they're scared. They don't know how to fight. They need someone to lead them, someone who understands what it means to face extinction and refuse to surrender. They need us, Captain Borelli said. She had been listening from her ship, now repaired and ready for action. And honestly, we need them too. If the Vraxians conquer those 3 worlds, they'll be emboldened. They'll come for Earth again, stronger than before. General Yoon was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed. You're all right? I know you are. I just lost so many people to aliens before. It's hard to trust them again. Trust isn't given freely, Daijong said gently. It's earned. By both sides. Maybe this is how we start earning theirs and they start earning ours. President Lim made her decision. Prepare the fleet. Deploy the platforms. We're going to war, not for conquest, not for revenge, but to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Within hours, humanity was mobilizing. The 3 ancient platforms were moved from Sol system for the first time since their awakening. Human ships assembled, ready to join with collective forces, and in training facilities across Earth, human officers began teaching alien crews the tactics that had saved humanity. Bora stood before a room full of alien captains. They came from different species, different worlds, different cultures, but they all shared one thing. They had never fought a real war. The collective had known peace for so long that war was just a word in their history books. The Vraxians are stronger than you, she told them bluntly. Their ships are bigger. Their weapons are more powerful. If you fight them directly, ship to ship, you will lose. The alien officers looked worried. One raised a tentacle to speak. Then how do we win? Bora smiled. You don't fight fair. You don't fight honorably. You fight smart. Humans have been the underdogs our entire history. We fought enemies bigger, stronger, and faster than us, and we won by being unpredictable, by using the environment, by making them chase us into traps, by hitting them where they're weak and running from where they're strong. She activated a tactical display. This is what we're going to teach you. Human warfare, asymmetric tactics, guerrilla strategies, things you've never needed before but desperately need now. Over the next 2 weeks, the training was intense. Alien crews learned to think like humans, to be creative, to be ruthless when necessary, to understand that survival sometimes meant abandoning pride and doing whatever it took to. When Dr. Hana Choi worked with collective scientists to integrate the ancient platform technology with their own shields and weapons, the result was a new kind of ship, a mobile fortress that combined collective defensive technology with ancient offensive power. It's beautiful, one collective engineer said, watching the first hybrid ship complete its test flight. Our science and your inheritance working together. That's what cooperation looks like, Hana replied. Each species contributing what they do best. That's how we'll win, not through individual strength but through unity. The Vraxian fleet arrived at Collective Prime 3 days later, 2,000 warships ready to prove that numbers still mattered. Ready to show the galaxy that the Vraxian Empire could not be humiliated without consequence. But they found something unexpected waiting for them. A combined fleet of 600 ships. Human vessels alongside collective cruisers, small, fast, and working together with a coordination that shouldn't have been possible after only 2 weeks of training. And behind them, the 3 ancient platforms, repositioned to defend not Earth but alien worlds. Admiral Sun Hee-go commanded the combined fleet from her flagship Unity. She was humanity's best strategic mind, and she had spent every waking hour planning this battle. Not how to win through overwhelming force, but how to win despite being outnumbered 3-1. All ships, this is Admiral Go, she broadcast to the fleet. Today we fight not for territory or resources. We fight for a principle, that the strong should protect the weak. That mercy is strength, not weakness. That different species can stand together against tyranny. The Vraxian fleet advanced. Their commander was not Krath this time. He had been demoted for his failure. The new commander, Vrex, had orders to show no mercy, to destroy everything, to prove that the Empire's strength was absolute. Pathetic, Vrex said, looking at the combined fleet. 600 ships against 2,000. They don't even outnumber us in ancient weapons. Victory is assured. But he underestimated what those 600 ships had become. They weren't fighting as 600 individual vessels. They were fighting as one organism, each ship covering another's weakness, each captain trusting their alien companions completely. The battle began with what looked like a reckless charge. Captain Bora led 50 human ships directly at the Vraxian center. It was the same tactic she had used weeks ago, the one that looked like suicide but was actually a trap. Vrex smiled. They're fools. All ships focus fire on that human formation. Destroy them. 1,000 Vraxian ships turned to engage Bora's force, their weapons charged, their commanders eager for easy kills. They didn't notice the collective ships maneuvering behind them. Didn't see the ancient platform shifting position. Now, Admiral Go ordered calmly. The platforms fired simultaneously. 3 gravitational waves converged on the Vraxian center, creating a pocket of warped space that trapped the pursuing ships. They couldn't advance, couldn't retreat, could only watch as Bora's ships scattered and collective forces attacked from behind. The ancient weapons didn't destroy. They disabled. Ship after ship went dark, their systems overloaded by electromagnetic pulses, but the collective forces weren't firing to disable. They were firing to defend, to protect their homes, and they were good at it. Thanks to human training, they fought with a creativity the Vraxians had never encountered. Collective ships used hit-and-run tactics. They exploited weaknesses. They worked together in ways that magnified their strengths. Vrex watched his perfect formation collapse into chaos. How are they doing this? They're scientists and diplomats, not warriors. His second-in-command understood before he did. The humans taught them. They're fighting like humans now. Admiral Go's voice echoed across all frequencies. Vraxian fleet, you have one chance. Surrender now. Power down your weapons. We will not destroy you, but we will not let you harm innocent worlds. Never, Vrex roared. All ships, continue the attack. We will not be defeated by inferior. His transmission cut off, not because of technical failure, but because his own crew had shut it down. Across the Vraxian fleet, a mutiny was beginning. Soldiers who had watched their comrades disabled and then shown mercy. Warriors who had been treated with more honor by their enemies than by their own commanders. Ship by ship, the Vraxian fleet powered down its weapons. Not all of them. Some captains remained loyal to the Empire. But enough. More than half the invasion force chose surrender over meaningless death. Vrex himself was found hiding in an escape pod, trying to flee back to his empire. Lieutenant Jae Sung Han intercepted him in the Ghost, the stealth fighter that had started all of this weeks ago. Commander Vrex, Jae Sung said over the comm.